Hi guys, I'm Katie of Buona Pasta Club. Welcome to my pasta making series. So today we are making a gluten-free, egg-free pasta. And I'm gonna show you how to knead your own pasta dough, roll it out, and cut. So Cup for Cup is my favorite gluten-free flour. You can use whatever gluten-free flour you like, but Cup for Cup already has all the stuff that you need in it. The xanthan gum, the tapioca, the rice flour. So I have done so much testing for gluten-free pasta because I have several friends who are gluten-free. So I have found this flour to be the most comparable to regular flour, and it just produces a bit more stretchy of a gluten-free flour, which you really don't find with a lot of them. So you can find this flour on my Amazon shop. I will leave details in the caption. So we are making 2 servings today. 1 serving is half a cup of flour and 50 milliliters of warm water. So you can also use 1 egg, but I have just found that if you use water, then it yields just a bit more stretchy dough, and it's just easier to work with because you don't have that egg. So 1 serving is half cup of flour and 50 milliliters of warm water. So you're going to use warm water because it's just easier to work with and a bit more flexible. Comes together a lot easier. So today we are making 2 servings. So we're going to use 1 cup of flour and 100 milliliters of warm water. So depending on your environment, the dough consistency, if you live in a humid environment, you may need more flour because your dough is naturally going to be more hydrated and have more moisture. So if you live in a dry area, it might be all the flour that you need. It can also depend on the season. So in the summertime, I have more moisture in my air, so sometimes I do need more flour. So it's just kind of a test, and if it's sticky at all, you add a little flour. If it's dry, you can add water, but it is a lot easier to add flour than it is to add moisture. So those are our ingredients and a little intro about what we're making. So I'm going to show you how to knead your homemade gluten-free pasta dough. So I'm going to make this on the tabletop. Feel free to make this in a bowl. Gluten-free flour is not as, I guess, condensed as regular flour, so there's just a little bit more opportunity for your water, especially when you're using water because it's a lot thinner than egg, to escape your well. So use a bowl if you would like to, but I'm going to do it on the tabletop just so it's easier for you guys to see. So let's get started. So I am using my favorite gluten-free flour, which is Cup for Cup. You can find this on my Amazon shop. And I'll put details in the description. We are just going to be careful that we don't allow our water to escape our well. So I am now adding 100 milliliters of warm water. And we're just going to hope that this does not escape our well. Looks like we're good. We're going to move fast. So with a fork, you are now just going to bring that flour into the well. And we're just going to be really careful that they don't escape. And once you bring enough flour in that it is going to make like a batter consistency, you can be a little more free with this. The water is just so thin that we just first need to thicken it up. So I'm just going to mix this flour in here, and little by little, I'm just going to bring this flour in. And you'll notice that this flour is like super soft. It's really, really soft. It's, if you've ever felt tapioca flour, it's so similar because it does have tapioca flour in here. So you can really feel that. But when you wash your hands, it does kind of feel a little like slimy. But that is what helps your dough come together and have a bit more flexibility. So now you can see it's nice and thick. So I'm not really worried now. If it escaped my well at this point, it's not really going anywhere, you know? So I'm just gonna bring this flour into my well. We're just gonna keep mixing this up. It does look like a little dry right now, but as I mentioned, it really depends on your environment to know the consistency of your dough. So because we're getting into summer, I probably have a little more moisture in the air, but which means that I'll have a bit more moisture in my dough. And more moisture is better than less moisture because it's so much easier to add flour than it is to add water or hydration to your dough. So you can see now, I mean, it's pretty sticky, we can tell. So we're just going to get that excess dough off our fork, set that aside. So I'm just gonna add a little more flour here. So we're gonna just add more flour to our dough until it is no longer sticky. So you can already see, like, you know, it's such a nice, this is why I love this flour. It comes together so nicely. Like, this looks so similar to regular flour. So all of these scraps on here, if you don't have a bench scraper or dough scraper, this is my favorite tool for pasta making. It just helps with so many things. So if you don't have one of these, you can just keep kneading and it'll come up. But I do like to just help it out like that. So now we've got, like, you know, all of our flour right here, and I can just start mixing it into my dough. So this kneading motion is top over itself, and you're gonna just push down on your dough with the palm of your hand or the heel of your palm and rotate it top over itself, and again top over itself. So we are just going to keep doing this, and you can see, I mean, I just can't even believe it. Look how beautiful this dough is already. So this is gluten free. It's just amazing. And I do use the multi-purpose flour by Cut for Cup. There is, I believe there's like a baking one, but the multi-purpose one is just for, I guess, anything. So you can see, like, I barely have any extra flour. It is like a tiny bit, like, it's definitely hydrated, very hydrated. What I'm going to do now is I am going to wash my hands, because I do like, at this point, once I get a nice solid ball of dough, I like to just rinse my hands off, because then you can get that extra dry, like my hands are super dry. All right. So now hands are nice and clean. So with gluten-free pasta, because it doesn't have any gluten in it, you don't need to knead it for 5 to 7 minutes. You also don't need to rest it. So you can make gluten-free pasta in like 30 minutes. So we are just going to basically knead it until it comes together, and we're trying to get it nice and smooth. Like, you can see it's already so, I'm sorry, like, it's already so beautiful, but I just am so excited about it. So we're just gonna knead it into a dough ball now. So we're gonna do that kneading method a little bit smaller increments. So we're just gonna go bring it in on the inside. And this is just so that it's easier to kind of divide it and when you roll it out. All right, so we've got this nice, beautiful dough ball. It's looking so smooth. So I am going to cut these into quarters, and we're gonna make 4 different types of pasta with each quarter. So while we do that, we're gonna make sure and cover the other pasta dough that we're not working with. So we just want to make sure that we don't lose that hydration that we put into our dough and that it just doesn't dry out. It's so much easier to work with when our dough is hydrated, especially the gluten-free pasta. So we are going to use our handy dandy dough scraper. So another way that you can use this, so you can see how nice this dough looks. It is beautiful. Even has the air bubbles like regular pasta does. So we're gonna just cut this into quarters. So we are going to just cover the other quarters so that they do not dry out. So we are going to roll this out and cut it like a fettuccine or a tagliatelle. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna flour our dough. So we're gonna just make sure there's flour on our board. We're gonna just help it out by hand, pressing it down. And we're gonna use this cute little rolling pin, and we're just gonna roll it out as flat as we can. And we're gonna add flour as we go. So you can see how nice and stretchy this is. I mean, it's not that stretchy, so you don't want to like pull it apart, but it's so easy to work with. And we're just going to roll it now the other way so that we can kind of get a rectangle shape. It's so delicate, so you do want to do this gently and just roll this out as thin as you can. And I mean, it is like perfect. Look at this. Look at this. It feels like silk because of that tapioca. So once it looks like kind of like a blanket like this, oh my gosh, this is perfect. That is when we are good to make our pasta. So I'm just actually going to roll these edges out since the edges are a little bit thicker. Okay. So we're just going to flour our sheet, and this is so that it doesn't stick to our board because that could cause your dough to rip. And gently, and also if you have rings on, you might want to take them off just because it could just poke into your dough. All right. So now we're just going to cut these out. So if you want to make like a pappardelle, then you would just cut wider 10 millimeter with strips. But we're going to do like a tagliatelle, which is like 7 millimeters. So we are just going to fold this into the middle gently. Same side, same on the other side. We're just going to trim our edges. Okay. And we're going to cut our pasta now. So we're going to just do about like this. And you do want a kind of a sharp knife to make sure it goes through your pasta and doesn't like smush it. You just want it to cut right through. All right. So here is our pasta, and we're just going to gently slide our knife underneath the first half of it and lift it up like this. And there's your pasta. So pretty, and it's like so soft. So we're just gonna be super gentle with this. And we're gonna lay it on our board. So I'm just gonna lay it like this way so that we don't break it. Okay. Perfect. So we have made our pasta. Everything looks beautiful. Okay, so these are ready to cook immediately in salted boiling water. The long cut pasta will be 2 to 4, depending on how big and thick you rolled it. So it's really all about taste test with all of these, because if you rolled it out a bit thicker, it might take a bit longer to cook. So after a few minutes, just taste test a piece, and you can just keep testing until it's perfectly how you like it. So if you don't cook right away, then I would recommend freezing these. So you can just stick them right in the freezer like this, and you just stick them in the freezer to harden for about an hour, and then you can transfer it to a freezer bag for up to a week, 2 weeks. The sooner you eat it, the fresher it will be, but you can definitely store for a week or few. And then they cook up in about 1 to 2 more minutes from frozen. So thank you guys so much for joining. I had so much fun making this pasta for you. Don't forget to follow Buona Pasta Club on whatever platform you're on, and I just hope you love the class. Cheers.